Imagine a barren frozen desert in the remote corners of Utah, long before the first empires arose, where nomadic travelers huddled close together around a small crackling campfire and threw wild seeds into the heat, not to cook their limited food or merely to warm their hands, but to breathe the rising vapors and alter their very perception of the cold, dark world. This is the untold history of our species' oldest and most enduring habit. Long before the invention of tobacco or the rise of global trade, humans were drawn to the smoke. In 2019, researchers made a stunning discovery in the Salt Flats. They uncovered a prehistoric hearth dating back 12,000 years to the Ice Age. Tucked deep inside the charred remains were the preserved seeds of wild tobacco, known scientifically as Nicotiana attenuata. This was not a random natural fire. The concentration of these ancient seeds suggested a highly deliberate act, pushing the known timeline of human interaction with psychoactive plants back by several thousand years before agriculture. Our ancestors were already experimenting with the chemical potential of their environment long before the first clay pots or stone pipes were ever carved. This ancient interaction stands in stark contrast to our modern reality. Today, we view this primal habit through the lens of industrial production, a multi-trillion-dollar global market of packaged consumer goods and chemicals designed to exploit our shared biology. But if we peel back the layers of modern commercialization and corporate greed, we find an intimate evolutionary bond between human consciousness and burning plants that spans across the entire globe. To truly grasp this deep relationship, we must travel much further back, 1 million years into the past, to a quiet site in South Africa known today as the Wonderwerk Cave. Located within the Kuruman Hills, where excavation teams uncovered the microscopic trace elements of ancient burned organic material, here deep within the limestone cavern, our evolutionary ancestor Homo erectus learned to control the wild element of fire for the first time. They lived in confined dark spaces filled with thick, choking wood smoke, inhaling carbon monoxide and fine ash day after day for thousands of years. This was the original air quality long before any modern standards existed, and this constant exposure over generations set the biological stage for an unexpected neurological relationship to develop. When certain organic materials are combusted, they release active and volatile compounds, such as alkaloids, terpenes, and cannabinoids. When our early ancestors burned the local flora of their landscapes, they inevitably inhaled these active molecules, triggering noticeable changes in their minds. The human brain already possessed receptors perfectly shaped to receive these molecules. Our complex endocannabinoid system, which regulates mood and appetite, did not evolve for these plants, yet it was perfectly primed to lock into their chemical structures. The first time an ancestor inhaled the smoke of a burning cannabis plant, their brain recognized the compound instantly, and a highly rewarding feedback loop was established around the ancient campfire. This was not a conscious decision, but a highly pleasant sensory accident, repeated enough times across generations until someone eventually figured out how to recreate it on purpose. The entire global industry we see, and the centuries of shamanic traditions, may have started because a hunter sat downwind of the wrong bush and experienced an unexpectedly tranquil evening. For thousands of years, these encounters remained unwritten but deeply lived, until physical evidence began to emerge in the high-altitude burial sites of the Pamir Mountains of Central Asia. Dating back to around 500 BC, archaeologists excavated wooden ritual braziers containing stones that were superheated alongside organic residue of cannabis plants, possessing unusually high active chemical levels. This was not wild hemp used for making rope or clothing fiber. This was carefully selected botanical material, burned inside a sacred funerary context to guide the living and deceased into a state of deep transition. This matches the historical accounts written by the ancient Greek writer Herodotus, who described in the 5th century BC a nomadic warrior culture called the Scythians. He wrote that they constructed small airtight tents using thick woolen felt, then placed red-hot stones in braziers and threw hemp seeds upon them, creating a dense, fragrant steam that made them howl with pleasure. For centuries, modern historians dismissed this as an exaggerated and fictional tale, until modern excavations of nomadic tombs revealed the exact bronze braziers, the charred seeds, and the stones, proving that Herodotus was documenting a highly accurate cultural ritual. In the frozen tombs of Pazyryk, where leather pouches of dried herbs remained perfectly preserved in deep ice, the reality of this practice was confirmed. Meanwhile, across the vast Atlantic Ocean, another botanical relationship was forming. Tobacco, a plant of the genus Nicotiana, was completely unknown to the Old World until the late 15th century, when explorers arrived in 1492 on the shores of the Caribbean. Columbus noted in his personal journal that indigenous men and women carried small glowing tubes of rolled leaves, perfuming the air and inhaling deeply. Within weeks, the European crew members had adopted the habit themselves, unable to resist its powerful pull. Yet for the indigenous peoples, tobacco was never a casual hobby. It was a sacred spiritual tool, used for at least 3,500 years in North America, and perhaps over 10,000 years since its early cultivation in Amazon forests. It was smoked in highly disciplined ceremonies to seal binding pacts, to communicate with the spirit realm, and to bless individuals with vision. The smoke was a living messenger, bridging the gap between worlds, carrying prayers up to the Creator, and bringing wisdom back down to earth in moments of deep reflection. This sacred framing explains why tobacco use was so disciplined and controlled for thousands of years within these cultures. The idea of smoking as a casual, everyday habit during a lunch break is an entirely recent Western invention. Long before smoking became recreational, it was utilized as a powerful medicine. The ancient Egyptian Ebers Papyrus, written around 1550 BC, lists several complex medical formulas that required the inhalation of smoke from burning aromatic medicinal herbs to address severe physical conditions affecting the throat and respiratory tracts. This ancient scroll of medical wisdom discovered along the Nile River revealed how they approached health. Though it seems counterintuitive today to introduce smoke into compromised lungs, the specific plants like henbane possessed active chemical compounds that dilated bronchial tubes when inhaled, providing rapid physiological relief. Similarly, in ancient Indian Ayurvedic medicine, a practice known as Dhumapana, literally translating to smoke drinking, was developed over 3,000 years ago. As detailed in the ancient texts of Charaka, which instructed the practitioner on the precise configuration of herbal blends, it involved inhaling herbal formulations through elaborate specialized pipes to clear the sinuses and calm the nervous system of patients. This was a highly structured discipline, with precise dosages and timings designed by skilled ancient doctors across Mesopotamia, China, and Greece. Therapeutic fumigation was a standard method of delivering plant medicine directly into human circulation through the efficient vessel of the lungs, which we still utilize today in modern medical inhalers. But beyond medicine and ritual, smoking served as crucial social technology. Humans are intensely cooperative creatures who survived the brutal prehistoric wild only by maintaining extreme group cohesion. Isolated individuals faced certain demise, while tight-knit groups survived and flourished. Anthropological studies show that shared rituals, such as inhaling psychoactive smoke together, act as powerful neural synchronizers. They trigger the release of endorphins and foster deep feelings of trust among members of a community. The ancient circle around the fire, breathing the same herbal vapor, was not merely a casual gathering. It was an essential social infrastructure that bound clans together in trust, enabling them to face external threats. This sacred and highly controlled relationship shattered completely during the 16th century, when tobacco entered the European market. It spread with unprecedented speed, transforming from a rare shamanic tool into a global commercial obsession. By the 17th century, global trade had commodified the sacred plant, and by the 19th century, the invention of the manufactured cigarette democratized access to cheap nicotine, maximizing its addictive potential. In the hands of modern industrialists, the plant was stripped of ritual and re-engineered as a consumer product, designed to exploit human biology for endless financial extraction. The industry spent decades hiding internal scientific data regarding the severe physical conditions and adverse health outcomes caused by their products, while actively marketing to younger generations and adding chemical compounds to accelerate the rate of neurochemical addiction. The gap between an ancient shaman using tobacco to commune with deities and a corporate executive in 1960 designing highly addictive cigarettes represents one of the most profound moral divides in human history. To understand why we are so vulnerable to this modern exploitation, we must look at the universal drive to alter human consciousness. The psychopharmacologist Ronald Siegel proposed that the pursuit of intoxication represents a fundamental fourth drive, operating alongside hunger, thirst, and sex. This behavior is deeply hardwired into the animal kingdom itself. Elephants actively seek out fermented fruit, reindeer in the Siberian tundra consume Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and even recycle the active compounds by consuming the liquid waste of their intoxicated peers. The drive to escape normal perception is an evolutionary constant, and ancient humans simply used smoke as the most immediate and efficient technology available to achieve it. So when we trace the path from the smoke of Wonderwerk Cave to the modern vapor devices of today, we are looking at a story that is as old as humanity. It predates the invention of pottery, the rise of agriculture, and the very concept of civilization itself. It is a thread of continuity running through 100,000 years, connecting us to the ancient nomads howling in their felt tents, to the Egyptian doctors burning henbane, and to the indigenous groups on the shores of the Caribbean Sea. Next time you watch wood smoke drift into the night sky, You are looking at the oldest human habit in history, a reminder of our eternal quest to alter our minds and connect with the elements around us.